And now we're going to take you directly to Taylor Field in Regina, where game number 2, the doubleheader, is in progress.
It is the Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders at Taylor Field. It is sold out here, and the Eskimos have dominated on the first 2 possessions, beginning at the 50-yard line and the 53, but so far only 1 point is on the scoreboard.
Both teams have had the football twice. Both teams have had to kick the football, but because the Edmonton Eskimos got a couple of no-yards calls, they have the field position advantage.
And here's where the Eskimos are right now, inside the Saskatchewan 25-yard line, looking at 2nd and 5. And Moss has this one picked off as the Riders snuff out the drive. Santonio Hall comes up with the interception. Check that, it's Travis Smith with the interception, number 48.
Yeah, Travis Smith's right back here. He's going to drop right underneath this throw from Jason Moss and get right into that curl zone and just win the fight for the football. See how he steps in front of that, the crossing route from Ed Hervey, and that can change the field position for Saskatchewan.
Absolutely, the Riders take over at the 35-yard line. This is their best spot so far with 8:16 to go in the opening quarter. Wind is going to be a huge factor in this game this afternoon. It favors the Edmonton Eskimos as Kenton Keith reverses his field and finds extra running room. This is why this guy is the best back in Canadian football right now. Kenton Keith has enough for a Saskatchewan first down. The starting quarterbacks are brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Wendy's, it's better here. And here they are. Jason Moss intercepted once already. Henry Burris has not had much success so far, but he gets a better opportunity where the field position that the Riders have right now.
Last time the Edmonton Eskimos won in Taylor Field was 2001. At that time, Jason Moss was the quarterback.
Riders have their first down, and a time count violation goes against Henry Burris. This is the playoff for the playoffs, and the Riders have sold out Taylor Field.
Saskatchewan number 1. Still first down.
And no doubt about it, Glenn, this is the most talked about game in recent memory for Saskatchewan football fans.
Well, the last time the Saskatchewan Roughriders hosted a playoff game was back in 1988, 16 years ago. So Danny Barrett has a chance with a win to get in the driver's seat in hosting a playoff game this year.
And what's on the line in this one is a playoff spot. The winner here today will grab a playoff spot in the CFL West. The loser will have to wait at least another week. On 1st and 15, there is no room for Kenton Keith there. So Henry Burris has bounced back after 2 tough losses to Winnipeg and engineered 4 straight Rider wins. The return of Matt Dominguez coincides with the Saskatchewan 4-game win streak. He has 17 catches in his last 3 games. And up front, big Fred Childress has made a huge difference. The Riders have not lost with Big Chill at left guard. 2nd and a bunch, Saskatchewan. Burris puts it up, and he'll get about halfway back to the first down. Corey Holmes makes the catch.
Well, good news for Edmonton fans. Singor Mosley is back in the defensive lineup for the Edmonton Eskimos. Missed last week due to injury. He's playing hurt, but they need his leadership in that front 7. And in the secondary, Malcolm Frank. 7 interceptions on the season and set a CFL record, taking 5 of them back for touchdowns.
Starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. McCallum is in. Kicking on 3rd down, into the wind. He tries to keep it low. And at the 35, Winston October. No flags anywhere, and that's where the Eskimos will begin. Back at the Edmonton 30. Good special teams coverage by the Riders.
NFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Wendy's, it's better here. By Molson Canadian, I am Canadian. By Rona, the how-to people. And by Rogers, your world right now.
The blackout is lifted. Taylor Field is full, sold out. Standing room only for the biggest game in recent memory for Saskatchewan Roughrider football fans. Eskimos look at first down here. And a little noisy for Jason Moss. The fans here will be the 13th man for Saskatchewan.
Well, they certainly will, and they're all huddled in close because winter has arrived on the prairies. We got a dump of snow overnight. Tom Higgins, up and down season for the Edmonton Eskimos. Started with 3 straight losses, then won 3. And it's been a roller coaster ride since, coming off a win versus the Montreal Alouettes.
Temperature at kickoff time -1, the wind chill -8, the wind southeast 26 gusting to 35, and it favors the Eskimos right now. First and 15. Mike Pringle makes the catch. He has about 5 yards there and wrapped up by Travis Smith. Jason Moss ended a 2-game losing streak with that huge win over Montreal. Lots of targets for Moss. Jason Tucker back in form, 6 catches, 188 yards last week. And up front, Kevin Roughriders adjusted to his second start at center and gets to start there for the 3rd time. This Eskimo offensive line weakened by injury.
Major foul. Unnecessary roughness. Edmonton 65. Is after the play. Second down.
So that's Roughriders standing in the middle.
Roughriders going to be up against maybe the best combination inside in the Canadian Football League in Nate Davis and Scott Schultz. And that interior offensive line for the Edmonton Eskimos will have their hands full this afternoon.
15 sacks between those 2 big guys on the inside. So some early movement on the other side. It's Nate Davis jumping this time.
And they will move Nate Davis around a little bit. Danny Barrett was telling us yesterday that in the last few games and during this 4-game winning streak for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they started to move.
Saskatchewan 98, still second down.
They started to move Nate Davis and Scott Schultz around, so we may see Nate Davis come off the edge a little bit more. Now that's a different position for him. And that time he lined up on the outside and jumped offside.
2nd and 20 facing the Eskimos now at the 21-yard line. Eskimos trying to take advantage of the wind at their backs. Moss has Pringle. Pringle one move and can't get away. He's back to the original line of scrimmage and wrapped up by Alondra Johnson.
Well, we talked about the best combination inside, possibly in the CFL with Schultz and Nate Davis. Put the highlight on Davis because he leads the way for the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 8 sacks. And one guy in the secondary that's become a playmaker, Santino Hall at the halfback spot. Early in the year, Santino Hall was playing linebacker, moved back to that secondary, and he always seems to be around the football.
Sean Fleming with the win. And ready to return for Saskatchewan, Corey Holmes. Standing back at the 40. Fleming barely got this away. Kicked it with his left foot just to get it away, but there's not much of a return. The ball is on the turf, but a flag is down at the 30. A 47-yard punt with the win, but it was not a thing of beauty.
Left footer.
Jennifer Daynard of Edmonton, you could win a 50-inch Prima Plasma TV if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in today's game. Thanks to Safeway's Touchdown to Win promotion, and if a second kickoff is returned, you could win $1 million. So good luck, Jennifer.
Here's Sean Fleming with the Eskimos leading 1-0. Lucky to get that punt away and lucky to get the yardage he did out of it. Watch here.
Well, he's lucky because he bobbles the football right in his hands. A good snap by Roger Reinson, but he drops it and then has to left foot kick it. Now, he got a good bounce, but because of a no yards, the turnover does not stand. Saskatchewan gets the football.
Holmes put it on the ground, but the Riders retain possession. It's first down, Saskatchewan. Burris with time. And he has a connection. Dominguez in his 4th starts for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, you mentioned Matt Dominguez and what he brings to the table. Matt Dominguez fills in for Elijah Thurman. Now, Elijah Thurman is on the injured list and a good receiver, but Matt Dominguez just brings that veteran experience to the lineup. He takes Elijah Thurman's spot and has for 3 games now.
He has speed and he has size. Last year, over 1,000 yards receiving. Took a crack at the NFL and came back. Burris has room, and he's got his target, Corey Holmes. And this guy has been sensational in everything he's done for these Roughriders this season.
Nice job of patience from the quarterback, Henry Burris, who is just going to slide over here and wait for Corey Holmes to open up. Corey Holmes is Mr. Versatility for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He'll come in the game for Kenton Keith, give him a rest on the sideline and run the ball out of the backfield, or he's a very effective receiver once he gets outside, as he shows right there.
39-yard gain for the Roughriders. In across the Edmonton 35. Kenton Keith. Glenn Young was waiting for him there.
Well, no surprise that Kenton Keith, in the 4-game winning streak for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Kenton Keith has 504 yards rushing in those 4 games. 126 yards per game. You're running for 126 yards per game from one player, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Picked up 4 there, 2nd and 6 here. Burris looks to put it up, looks to the corner, and comes up a little short on the toss, looking for Jason French.
And when you talk about the play of Henry Burris, Danny Barrett told us yesterday that what he likes about the development of Henry Burris this year is early on he had some rust, and he had to get that off him, and he did that. Then he had some problems in the middle of the season, especially right around Labor Day, a couple of losses to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Right here, the Labor Day loss was critical.
Yeah, and Henry Burris made some bad decisions in that game. But Danny Barrett says since then, he has improved in that decision-making process. And that time, he really didn't have an open receiver, so he just threw it away.
37-yarder. That's the attempt for Paul McCallum. Into the wind.
It didn't make it.
It didn't make it. Rolls into the end zone. Will go for the single point, but hang on, there are flags there. McCallum had the opportunity from 37 into the breeze. 2:23 to go, opening quarter. Only 1 point on the board officially so far. Well, it's beginning to feel a lot like that season, isn't it? Eskimos on top. Ray Morrison is on the sidelines in the snow.
Oh, no big problem. Just another nice fall day here, John. Actually, one of the things about the game is fans have been wondering if they're going to see the most of the big stars today. I talked to Mike Pringle. He said if I can keep my extremities warm, my hands warm, I can get a feel for the football. He's not that worried about it. And as far as Kenton Keith, he says, I worry about my muscles tightening up on the side once I do make a big run. He says, yes, I am a little slower, but so are my defenders. I might be able to break one here if I get the opportunity. So that's what some of the big runners from today's game were saying, guys.
John Avery of the Argonauts didn't see it that way yesterday. He had a couple of fumbles in Calgary, and after the game, his comments were something to the effect that he'd rather see dome stadiums everywhere in Canada.
Well, winter,
how cold it was.
Winter has arrived here, and when we got off the plane yesterday, there were a flock of seagulls heading in a hurry south.
Eskimos on first down. A chance for the interception there.
I mean, yesterday when we arrived, it wasn't that bad. There's Santino Hall with a nice play. There's what happened this morning. We got the blizzard overnight. Now, the field crews have done a nice job of cleaning the stands, cleaning off the field. The field is actually quite dry.
And it's not slippery out there at all from what we've seen so far.
No, really not that slippery. They did a nice job of cleaning it off. It took them a while, but it is cold and a little breezy.
Wind chill -8 at kickoff time. 2nd and 10, Eskimos. Moss had a little trouble hanging on to that. And this one is picked off. Santino Hall had a chance on the previous play and comes up with the interception here. This guy has been gold for the Roughriders since taking a starting assignment. That's his 4th interception of the year.
He's right on the outside here, and Jason Ma's just going to throw this up. He felt the pressure, wanted to get rid of the football, and look at how Santino Hall plays it perfectly.
Roughing the passer, Saskatchewan 98, first down.
That was the pressure that Ma's felt, and Nate Davis carried through. We'll take a look at that for you. A couple steps, and then put the forearm in the chest to Jason Ma's. That draws the flag, so Edmonton keeps the football.
And knock one of those interceptions off beside Hall's name as a result of the infraction against Nate Davis.
The crowd hates the call.
Couple of penalties for Davis already. Saskatchewan, the least penalized team in the league. And Mitchell had about a 12-yard head start there.
Yeah, I did. And that's the crowd here at Taylor Field becoming involved. They were unhappy with the roughing the passer call and were vocal. And Jason Maas couldn't relay the signal when he was trying to call for the football to Daryl Mitchell. Mitchell was a good 12 yards offside.
Edmonton 87. Still first down.
The Eskimos knew what to expect when they got to Taylor Field and a full house here. And it worked with loudspeakers and practice back in Edmonton. And the hurry-up offense as well. First and 15. It's Mike Pringle. Flag down as Pringle is dropped near the 42. So Tom Higgins knew exactly what to expect before he arrived in Regina.
Offensively, we practiced no huddle. We brought a sound system out so that way we could try to simulate maybe what it's going to be like to be on Taylor Field. The only thing that we couldn't simulate was we had not enough power to generate the winds that we needed in which to possibly play.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough to recreate the weather that you could face here in Taylor Field and that wind.
26 gusting to 35, and for another minute it will favor the Eskimos. Edmonton looks at first and 20 here. Pringle takes a huge hit. David Benefield was waiting for Mike Pringle.
Mike Pringle just slips out of the backfield, and the idea for Edmonton Eskimos is to try and pick up at least half of the lost yardage, but David Benefield closes in a hurry, and this is showing you some of the ways that they change up what they do defensively on that tackle.
137 touchdowns for Mike Pringle, even with George Reed. And another record could fall before this is over today. Almost intercepted. In fact, it is. Alondra Johnson takes it on the deflection.
Now there's a flag down on the field in the defensive secondary. We'll take a look at that, but that shows you what a little bit of hustle will do on the backside. Alondra Johnson hustles back, and he gets the tip ball, but this may go against Saskatchewan.
Looked like there was early movement down there. Alondra Johnson, ex of the Calgary Stampeders.
Offside, Saskatchewan, still second down.
Alondra Johnson starts right there in the lineup. He is spying Pringle. He takes Pringle out of the backfield, and then watch the hustle. For all the kids watching this game, that's how you make the big plays. If you never quit on a play, you get a chance. Penalty goes against Saskatchewan, so Edmonton takes the football. They won't get first down yardage. So Sean Fleming comes in the game.
Look at this, on second down with only 7 seconds on the clock in the first quarter, the Eskimos are going to kick it away on 2nd and 15 because they have the wind at their backs. Smart call.
Yeah.
Fleming sails this down to Holmes, and Corey Holmes has the 35, the 37, and he stopped there. Good call by Tom Higgins to kick it away. On the final play of the opening quarter, he gets a 49-yard play.
At the quarter, brought to you by Reebok, the only brand that hangs in every CFL locker.
All right, let's remind everybody that first place in the West is now gone. BC claims that via their victory today in Montreal. These two are fighting for second spot. Since 1976, the last time Saskatchewan finished first in the West, they have never finished ahead of Edmonton, which they can if they got to win today to keep that alive.
Hey, they may change it all as of this football game. A couple things, couple quick observations. Kevin Lesserud has to have a good day in terms of shotgun snaps. Tim Princeton is out. That's going to be key for Saskatchewan. Keep Kenton Keith involved, because in the previous game, the one that Edmonton won 31-7 on August the 20th, they abandoned this running back, and it changed the dynamics of the game. 6 times a quarter, you got to get him the football, because Henry Burris is at his best under a balanced offense, Chuck.
Yeah, and Burris has looked like a different quarterback lately.
Yes.
Yeah, he's playing great. And for Edmonton, of course, Jason Maas is doing what he does. And last week, he showed the type of leadership that Edmonton's going to need if they are going to finish second in the West. And doing plays like this, I mean, running over guys, He's fired up. And I was talking to Danny Machoch, offensive coordinator for the Edmonton Eskimos, earlier in the season. He says, we are going to go as far as Jason Moss can carry us. And right now, it looks like Jason Moss is playing with that kind of intensity. Last week, he was showing he's prepared to take the big hit, to get the ball down the football field like you just saw. I think everything rests on his shoulders, David.
Well, right now, you're right about Henry Burris. He's led them to a 4-game win streak. They're trying to keep that going today.
Roughriders went against the wind in the first quarter. They're only down by 1. Might be happy with that. Here are the other numbers.
Yeah, you look at it, you can see the weather is affecting the offenses. I'm going to write something right over the top of this. 2 penalties for Saskatchewan could be key plays in this game. 2 penalties that brought back interceptions, one by Alondra Johnson, one by Santino Hall.
Here are the Roughriders with the wind at their tails for the first time. Burris pumps once and goes over the middle. Not quite a first down on the connection with Kenton Keith. So the BC Lions clinch top spot in the CFL West as a result of that victory in Montreal this afternoon. What's on the line here today is another playoff spot. The winner between Saskatchewan and Edmonton claims a playoff spot. The loser has to wait at least another week.
Yeah, because Winnipeg can still move up that ladder, and Winnipeg has a season series with Saskatchewan, but the winner here clinches a playoff spot. They're still not sure if they're hosting the game yet.
On second down, Burris stands in and missed the target.
What we do know is the BC Lions will host the Western Final.
And what we don't know is where the Western semifinal will be played. It's been a long time since it was played at Taylor Field. We're looking all the way back to 1988 for that. For a playoff game to be hosted by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that has been the goal of this football team all season long, considering what happened to Saskatchewan last year, having to go to Edmonton and play in the Western Final. Winston October. Solid special teams coverage as 3 riders converge on him. Kennedy Nakiason leading the way.
This quarter is brought to you by the Pontiac Wave. Pontiac, built for drivers.
Standing room only at Taylor Field this afternoon. 30,220 tickets have been sold for this game, the biggest one for Saskatchewan fans in a long time on home turf at Taylor Field as Mike Pringle on first down stopped by that Saskatchewan front 4. And Schultz is right in the middle of it.
Well, Scott Schultz and Nate Davis, they're the middle of that defense primarily, and they get the push and the penetration that really eliminates the running game for most offenses against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If you get penetration in the middle of your defense, it's tough to run the football.
2nd and 10, Eskimos at the 30. Jason Moss lost the handle on the ball. And it looks like the Eskimos got it back just barely. Couple of miscues have happened to the Eskimos, and you can hear the fans creating a little disturbance, but I don't think that was the problem there.
The ball gets a little colder, and you got to hang on to it a little bit stronger. Lefsrud, not only does he have to now snap the football, but he has to deal with Scott Schultz and Nate Davis, who ran a little bit of a stunt up front that time. Caused some problems for the center, the Edmonton Eskimos.
Tim Princeton, the starting Eskimo center, on the sidelines the last couple of weeks, so Lefsrud has had to step in. Holmes is back. Sean Fleming inside his 20. Into the breeze, not deep. Here's Corey Holmes. Needs a block to the near side. Super speed here as Holmes sets the Eskimos up near the 41. So the Roughriders begin from there. It's Corey Holmes. He returned it to the 41 and set the Riders up in great field position there. Genty leading the tacklers for the Eskimos.
Corey Holmes, 2,158 all-purpose yards coming into this game. He has a 19.1 yard kickoff return average and almost 10-yard punt return average, up there just over 8.
This team is extra dangerous with Holmes and Kenton Keith in the backfield at the same time. quarterback draw. He'll score. Henry Burris. Thinking run all the way. Burris has a 34-yard touchdown.
John, the play action fake to Kenton Keith absolutely froze the Edmonton Eskimo defense, and I'm not talking about the temperature. They hit right in here on the fake, and Burris comes outside, and every one of those Edmonton Eskimo defenders felt like it was a running play to Kenton Keith. They all bought, and look at the room that Henry Burris had to run the football.
The quarterback races to the end zone. The Eskimos have given up the first touchdown of the game. Burris, the 34-yard run. Henry Burris racing to the end zone. It's 7-1 in Saskatchewan. Taylor Field, Regina. Sold out for the Riders and the Eskimos tonight on TSN. 8:30 kickoff, Minnesota at New Orleans. NFL on TSN in HD tonight.
See that? TSN hats right there.
Oh, very cool.
TSN #1.
All we're hoping is there's no lightning here today. You wouldn't want the lightning on tinfoil.
The guy with #1's going first. It's the tallest.
Burris has the touchdown.
The guy with #1 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders has it.
Eskimos with Winston October leading the charge. And October, decent return to the far side, and Edmonton will begin near the 30.
Roller coaster ride for the Edmonton Eskimos this season. Started the year 0-3. First game out of the gate was the Grey Cup rematch with Montreal. Then went on a little bit of a winning streak, starting with the BC Lions, beat them, and then went 3-0.
Back to even there.
Yeah.
Then a couple of losses.
Then 4-0 from weeks 9 to 12, and they win their last game versus Montreal, which was huge after losing 3 in a row.
Yeah, ending that last 3-game losing streak, so that's where the Eskimos are. 8-8, even with the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL West. Whoa! Pringle is decked. Tero Jeriniak.
And he draws in the Jeriniak into the lineup, and he's just, watch the penetration from this defensive line. See, Nate Davis in the middle demanded the double team, and that leaves Jeriniak on the outside a chance to go one-on-one, and he makes the tackle.
Pringle stopped in his tracks at 2nd and 10. Jason Moss behind the intended receiver. That was Terry Vaughn, closing in on 1,000 yards one more time. And for a while, it looked like he wouldn't get there for the 10th straight year. He just needs 16 now to get there.
And probably be one catch sometime in this game this afternoon for Terry Vaughn. But it was looking like it might have been a challenge this year to get his 10th consecutive 1,000-yard season.
Even 5 games ago, it looked like it would be, but Terry Vaughn coming up with a super game last week. 5 catches for 114 yards against Montreal to put him over that hump and get him close. Sean Fleming at his 20. Stopped in his tracks, and flags fly right there. As Holmes is wrapped up, it's Wendy's CFL Live from Regina. Wind a factor, as is often the case at Taylor Field in Regina. No yards penalty against the Eskimos. Saskatchewan begins inside the 50. Burris looks deep. Travis Moore. And hang on. Double coverage drawn over there.
Robert Grant came from the safety position to help out Shannon Garrett, because Travis Moore got in behind Shannon Garrett by a step. You're going to see right at the top of your screen. And look at the help coming from Robert Grant, who plays safety. He hits Travis Moore in the shoulder. The ball comes out.
Almost a miracle catch.
Yeah.
Moore had his hands on it.
But you talk about the win, John, and it's very important here at Taylor Field. How many times have you seen a team punt on 2nd down?
Not very often.
Yeah.
We've seen it here a
Already
time or two through the years. Saskatchewan 2nd and 10. Burris has room to the far side. Henry Burris, a couple of nice runs. One for the touchdown of 34 yards. And looks for the favorable spot here. Will he have the first down?
John, one of the reasons that Kenton Keith has had so much success running the football, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, #1 in the league, when you talk about rushing, is that they have a quarterback who can also run the football effectively. And when Henry Burris can put up 374 yards rushing, a lot of those yards are going to be to the outside of the formation. And when Burris is successful running to the outside of the formation, the gaps inside for Kenton Keith become a little bit wider.
Almost a yard to spare for the first down. 8 carries for 44 yards last week against Ottawa, and 2 carries today.
1 for a touchdown. Again, outside the formation.
9:02 till halftime. A playoff spot on the line in this matchup between the Eskimos and the Roughriders. The winner will move on to the playoffs. The loser will have to wait a week. This guy runs extremely well. Corey Holmes.
You look at the 4-game winning streak for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and you always hear coaches say, if we make the big play when we need it, we'll win the football game, and that's what the Saskatchewan Roughriders have done. And you notice Kenton Keith's name a few times in that list.
Corey Holmes with the run there for another Saskatchewan first down. Also a 39-yard reception for Corey Holmes. And he's special on special teams as well. Holmes again. Holmes was the starting running back for Saskatchewan as the season began. Then Kenton Keith came and he relinquished that spot, but he still gets his share of touches.
Well, whoever runs the football for Saskatchewan, they're running behind a solid offensive line that became better when Fred Childress was added to the lineup. He brings some more aggressive play to that left guard position, and you can get that offensive line. We talked about this on Friday night in Hamilton with Troy Davis. You can't lead the league in rushing or lead for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in rushing without the good offensive line.
2nd and 5. This is Watts for the first down. Karsten Bailey makes the catch there. The Riders are threatening again. And it's a fun afternoon to be at Taylor Field, right?
Kenton Keith is on the sidelines here, John. He took a shot to the head and is a little bit woozy, so Ivan Goodfriend, the athletic therapist, told me he's just going to sit out a series here and just make sure he's all right.
Well, it's in good hands with Corey Holmes in relief, at least at this point in time. From the Eskimo 11, first down. Saskatchewan. Burris. A flag down on an amazing catch, a one-hander. Travis Moore, as if he had glue on his fingers.
What a catch from Travis Moore.
Contact on the receiver. Edmonton 27. Penalties decline. Touchdown.
Travis Moore tries to move to the middle. Like my old college coach used to say, he stuck a fork in that pigskin. Look at that catch.
Watch for that on SportsCenter a time or two later today. Travis Moore, an amazing reception for Saskatchewan's 2nd touchdown. So Burris has run for 1 from 34 yards out and tossed for 1 to give Saskatchewan a 13-point lead.
Well, here's the Arona poll question. If you want to log on, we'll have the results at the half. We're going to ask you, which West Division running back would you like to have on your team right now? Kenton Keith, Mike Pringle, Charles Roberts, or Antonio Warren? All 1,000-yard rusher caliber guys.
6:37 till halftime. Saskatchewan with back-to-back touchdowns. Travis Moore has his 9th reception for 6 points on the season. And the Riders get set to kick it off. The wind has been Saskatchewan's huge ally so far here in the 2nd quarter. Winston October for the Eskimos. Across the 30, they'll begin at the 33.
Let's go back to that touchdown. I'm going to show you why Travis Moore has a chance for this. First of all, both receivers, Corey Holmes and Moore, have to get inside. You could see right there, Corey Holmes gets inside Singor Mobley. That pulls Mobley out of the picture because he's got to chase Corey Holmes. Now, look at this. Right here is Travis Moore, inside position, creating a throwing lane for Henry Burris. And then what a catch as he puts that right hand up there. Just stuck that fork in the pigskin.
First down, Edmonton. Eskimos 32. Jason Moss. Intercepted. Picked out by Jackie Mitchell. Flags are down as Mitchell heads to the end zone. He'll not get there. Tucker made the tackle. We'll check the infraction.
John, Eddie Davis, defensive back for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, was working on Ed Hervey at the opposite side of the field, and he chased the official all the way across the field talking to him. And based on that, my guess is that this penalty flag is against Eddie Davis.
And if that is the case, that is the third interception by Saskatchewan that has been ruled out because of penalty.
Well, and this is a nice one for Jackie Mitchell. And Jackie Mitchell, you see how he slides under the first one from Jason Tucker and then moves out to the next curl route and slides under that throw from Jason Moss. Now, the penalty, if it is against... There we go.
There you go.
They waved it off. And you know why they waved it off? It was so far away from the play, it had no bearing on it, and they decided, you know what, no penalty. And Eddie Davis, he ran all the way across the field. He may have talked the officials into that one.
Mitchell has the interception, and the Roughriders are set up at the Edmonton Eskimos 6-yard line.
You can tell by that smile, he just may have talked the officials into that call.
Riders threaten again with 5:51 to go till halftime. Zarka. Robert Grant is the Eskimo to make the tackle on Chris Zarka, his first carry of the afternoon.
There are basically three reasons why the Saskatchewan Roughriders have the best running game in the CFL. One is Chris Zarka, one of the best fullbacks blocking for that tailback. One is Henry Burris' ability to run to the outside, and the third is because they have not just Kenton Keith, but Corey Holmes to give Kenton Keith a rest every now and then.
And maybe the fourth is the offensive line, which ranks as good as any in the league.
And now, yeah, you're right. Four.
Second and goal to go. Touchdown, Corey Holmes.
And that fourth reason, John, is why Corey Holmes went into the end zone untouched. Whoa, look at those big guys dancing, too. Charles Thomas doing a little high stepping in the end zone.
They've been practicing. Corey Holmes has the touchdown, and the Riders have scored 3 in a row.
While the left side of this offensive line for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Charles Thomas, Fred Childress, they just washed down the entire defensive front seven, including A.J. Gass for the Edmonton Eskimos, and Corey Holmes goes in virtually untouched.
The Eskimos are reeling. The Roughriders set up on an interception by Jackie Mitchell at the 6-yard line. A couple of plays later, Corey Holmes is into the end zone for his second rushing touchdown of the season. In Saskatchewan, the wind is your friend. The Roughriders have scored 3 touchdowns with the wind at their backs.
Well, you have to manage the game based on the wind, and Saskatchewan has done that in this first half because they've taken full advantage when the wind was at their back. Edmonton couldn't do it.
Roughriders won the toss and deferred to the second quarter, the longer quarter. And with 4:42 to go, the Eskimos are in a deep hole already, but a long way to go on a football afternoon here. Looking back, however, the Eskimos have struggled in this ballpark in recent years.
They haven't won here since 2001. Now remember, in the game prior to this one, BC Lions in Montreal, the Alouettes had a 20-point lead. Lions came back and won that game because at this time of year, there can be no quit in any team, and I don't expect the Edmonton Eskimos to lay down. But Tom Hingage right now must feel a little bit like General Custer. And he just kind of he brought the cavalry right into an ambush here at this point.
That little bighorn. It will not be the Eskimos' last stand, however. There's a long way to go. And this kickoff trickles out, so the Eskimos will get field position as a result.
This winter, don't let the weather get the best of you. Fight back with a new Michelin X Ice tire. Available now at Canadian Tire.
Total offense so far for Jason Maas and the Eskimos, 36 yards. For the Roughriders, 174. And the 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, the difference in the game right now in the first half is not just the win, but also I think right now the Saskatchewan Roughriders have won the battle at the line of scrimmage. They are controlling the Edmonton offensive line. The Saskatchewan offensive line has dominated the line of scrimmage.
Eskimos from the 45. First down. That one slips right out of Moss's hands. It'll be ruled an incomplete pass. He was in the throwing motion.
He just cannot get a good grip on the football. And the very first play of the game was similar for Jason Maas. He drops back. He just loses the handle as he goes to get that one under there to Ed Hervey. So that was kind of floating up there dangerously for the Edmonton Eskimos.
One interception for Saskatchewan already. Jackie Mitchell set up a touchdown. Haas dropped for the first time. Reggie Hunt.
They just cannot handle him up front right now. The Edmonton Eskimos offensive line is struggling. It doesn't matter if Saskatchewan goes with a 4-man rush or they send one extra in. Reggie Hunt right there, number 9. He lines up in it, then stunts around the outside. Alondra Johnson occupies the block. Dan Comiskey can't get back to Reggie Hunt, and he gets there for the big sack.
Third sack for the Roughriders. Sean Fleming's kick. A one-hopper at the 45, and flags are flying. Look at this. Here he goes again. Corey Holmes. The penalty marker is down at the 50-yard line, but you would have to believe it's no yards and against the Eskimos.
The way Saskatchewan is celebrating right now, and Edmonton is basically walking off the field, I would have to agree with you. The ball was bouncing around. It looked like there was Eskimos in the 5-yard area. And they're lining up for the extra point. Let's take a look right now. Corey Holmes, you can see there's more than one Eskimo inside that 5-yard area. There was the flag to the right of your screen. And sometimes when you're inside the 5-yard area, if it's a cover team, you put the brakes on and you rest for a second. Edmonton did that, and Holmes took advantage of it.
Back-to-back touchdowns for Corey Holmes. 66 yards on the punt return there. Followed up after his second rushing touchdown of the season. He's leading the way. It's 28-1. We talked about it being the biggest home game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in quite some time.
And John, remember, the Saskatchewan Roughriders only play Edmonton twice this year. They need to win this game to win the series by 25 points or more. And they're on their way to doing that right now. Edmonton has to stop this momentum in a hurry. They need to win by 25 points or more to win the season series versus the Edmonton Eskimos. Right now, they have a 27-point lead.
The Eskimos won Game 1 and the only other game of this season, 31-9, and back in Edmonton. So the differential is what the Roughriders have to do to finish ahead of the Eskimos should these two teams end up in a tie.
That's right.
For second spot at the end of the season.
You know, and most people coming into this game thought that was going to be way out of reach. At this time of year, this would be two teams that have matched up pretty well. That 25 points would be a long shot for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Well, all of a sudden, it doesn't look like such a long shot. You can see Danny Barrett, he wants to keep them fired up. Keep scoring points. We can win that season series if we win by more than 25.
Well, and they were playing that down yesterday.
Because
winning
so
the
many
season
points.
series because of what is on the line. What the Roughriders' thought process is win this game and then let the rest of what's ahead in the final games of the season, one each for the Eskimos and the Roughriders after this afternoon, and let it play out after that. But right now, the explosion and back-to-back touchdowns by Corey Holmes, and the Eskimos are reeling.
You know, it's interesting. Yesterday, Danny Barrett said to us, you know, he didn't want to talk a lot about the 25 points and that spread that he had to make up. But he did say, you know, early in the year, when the Edmonton Eskimos lost their first three, their point differential was 24 versus Montreal, 29 versus Ottawa, 25 versus Toronto. It's possible that we could get that deficit back.
Riders kickoff down to the 10-yard line. Winston October at about the 30. Special teams have been solid for Saskatchewan. Jason Moss has not moved the football effectively for the Eskimos.
Well, he just does not have time, whether it be running the football to Mike Pringle or just dropping back to get in his pass drop because of the penetration from the Saskatchewan defensive line. He just cannot get anything going because he can't control the line of scrimmage.
And Herbie to the near side on first down, Eskimos.
There they are again.
Terry Vaughn was the target there. And Nate Davis got a hand on it. 28-1. 3 minutes till halftime. 1,220 seats at Taylor Field. Totally sold out earlier in the week. We're happy to be here, obviously, and happy the blackout is lifted for this one this afternoon. Halftime coming your way about 2 minutes and 50 seconds from now. And I'm thinking that the fans at Hemorrhoid Hill are having a nice afternoon standing up down there in the end zone, too. On Labor Day, it's a little warmer on the grass. Mike Pringle was the target, got one hand, that's all on the football.
Let's take a look, John, at the defensive line for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and how they are reestablishing the line of scrimmage back in front of Jason Moss. Look at this line of scrimmage right here. Now watch when Ed snap the ball, you see David Benefield, he gets the penetration through the open gap, and then look at that. 4 Saskatchewan tacklers surrounding Mike Pringle. Even if he catches that ball, he doesn't get any yardage.
Here's Sean Fleming again, kicking into a stiff breeze at Taylor Field. Corey Holmes took one back the last time. Holmes calls for it at the 50. And this time, he's grabbed from behind. Nowhere to go. With 2:31 remaining till halftime, and Henry Burris has rushed for a touchdown, tossed for one other to give the Roughriders this 28-1 lead.
Maybe most importantly for Henry Burris is that 0 interceptions so far in this first half. And he's used his legs a few times successfully as well.
Should say 2 touchdown tosses for Burris.
Yeah.
But Travis Moore, along with the Corey Holmes, actually, it was a rushing touchdown. So. Matt Dominguez.
And, you know, you look at Henry Burris, he really hasn't even had to use Matt Dominguez a whole bunch yet. Matt Dominguez may be one of the best of the league at getting vertical, going one-on-one on the outside. Now, he's going to have a nice matchup out there because he will run this afternoon, for the most part, against Malcolm Frank. put together a pretty good season out there for the Edmonton Eskimos on the corner.
3-yard gain, 2nd and 7, Saskatchewan, 2:10 till halftime. This will be a first down to Corey Holmes. Absolutely sensational so far, number 19.
Corey Holmes, before this series began, had 137 all-purpose yards in the first half. He took that punt return back a few, and now he just picked up some more there coming out of the backfield. 25 rushing yards. He has a couple of touchdowns, one on a punt return. He's Mr. Everything.
Riders just outside the Eskimo 40. Burris has Holmes again, and he's not going down easily.
That was a good read by Henry Burris and Corey Holmes, because the Edmonton Eskimos went with a blitz there, brought A.J. Gass out of the middle linebacker spot, and Corey Holmes just went right to where A.J. Gass had vacated. Look at this. Robert Grant here. There's A.J. Gass. The opening's going to be right back there. No linebackers there, so that's where Corey Holmes ends up.
Close enough to measure on the gain by Corey Holmes. And there's the official indication. This drive continues for Saskatchewan.
And the key to make that play work is the offensive line blocked up the blitz from A.J. Gass to allow Corey Holmes enough time to get to that open area.
From the Eskimo 32. Holmes. Robert Grant made the tackle. And he had to.
Yeah, and that's a good tackle by Robert Grant in the open field. That's Corey Holmes. I mean, this is a guy that can, make those great moves, and he can cut on a dime and give you a little change. And that's some kind of tackle from Robert Grant in the open field. He's way back here. Corey Holmes hits the seam, and he has nothing but 65 yards from sideline to sideline, and just one guy to beat. Robert Grant saves a touchdown. Right there. I mean, that's a heck of a tackle in the open field.
15-yard gain. Here are the Riders just outside the Eskimo 15 now. And that's whistled down.
You see what I'm talking about with controlling the line of scrimmage. Saskatchewan has the football. Whether they've been running the ball or giving Henry Burris time to throw it, they're controlling the line of scrimmage on both offense and defense.
And this will be costly to the Riders.
Saskatchewan number 1. Still first down.
A procedure call.
Well, that's loss of down.
Yeah, they called it first down, but it's in the final 3 minutes here, so they have moved it to second down, and that's what the reading is on the sideline, and there's the correction.
And look at the difference in total offense when you could control the line of scrimmage. 206 for Saskatchewan, 36 for the Edmonton Eskimos.
And the scoreboard reads 28-1 for the boys in black. 2nd and 10 here. Corey Holmes. And there's really not very much there. A.J. Gass makes the tackle.
But you see the difference. You see the difference. So Corey Holmes got that football, and he kind of ran into his own guy. He got all crossed up with one of those offensive linemen, or that goes for more yardage. But you saw that no one was really in his face. He has time when he takes the football from Henry Burris to look upfield and pick his hole. Very different from when Jason Moss takes the football or Mike Pringle. They're seeing defenders immediately.
Paul McCallum comes in. According to his coach, Danny Barrett, he has been at his all-time best since he ran into a little problem in Edmonton during that first game of the year.
Singor Mobley.
Yeah, and he separated his shoulder. He's back at 100%, and he's 2 for 2. Missed from 37, I should say, has the 20-yarder. More for Saskatchewan. It's 31-1. Eskimos with Mike Pringle. And Reggie Hunt was waiting. He had a little bit of help.
That's been all Saskatchewan in this first half. Controlling the line of scrimmage. Reggie Hunt's made some big tackles. He also has a sack coming on a blitz. Jackie Mitchell in the linebacking core has an interception.
Positive yardage for Pringle. He picked up 6, 2nd and 4. The time is running out in the first half on the Eskimos. 3 seconds to play. And the Roughriders taking full advantage of the wind in the second quarter to put up 31 points. Big plays all over the place for Saskatchewan.
And Saskatchewan won the toss and deferred, which means in the second half, they will be able to choose the wind in the fourth quarter, the long quarter. So for Tom Higgins going in at halftime, he's going to have to tell his guys, look, we want to come back and at least close the gap and end that 25-point differential. Then we've got to do it in the third quarter, and we're going to have the wind at our backs.
This should be the final play of the opening half. A tough half for the Eskimos. Ed Hervey makes the catch, and there was not much left on the far side of the field by the time he controlled the football. So the Roughriders dominate the Eskimos completely, and a sellout crowd at Taylor Field is having a great time. So are the Roughriders with these celebrations.
Yeah, there's been a lot of dancing going on at Taylor Field. They're hoping to dance with a home playoff date, a game that would be their first home playoff date since 1988. And just to remind you, Glenn Suter was talking about it earlier. Coming into this game, Saskatchewan won by 25 points or more, based on the score they had in their first meeting earlier on in the season. They would have the edge on Edmonton, both with one game remaining for second place in the West and that home date for the semifinal. Corey Holmes, maybe having the game of his career.
Oh, man. I mean, getting Keith. I mean, he's not even being missed at the moment, but he's getting a lot of help. Getting a lot of help from that offensive line. They are simply dominating the line of scrimmage. Let me show you the Corey Holmes touchdown. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Have a look here at Mikowski and Green, guard and tackle, and watch the way they simply wash the entire D-line of the Edmonton Eskimos down and out of the way. But I want to show you something even more impressive than that, and that's Jason French here, who is playing slot, and his job at 200 pounds, he's right here, it's his job to go down there and clear it Abdullah, who's 250 pounds. How do you do that? You chop him down just like that, and he clears open the hole for him. Not very often you take your slot back, Schultz, and ask him to clear away for off tackle for your tailback. He does a great job.
You know why? Because sometimes when you cut those guys, it hurts. I mean, you get kicked in the head or kicked in the ribs. So great job by the Saskatchewan slot. I want to talk about Henry Burris because I see him continually improving as a quarterback. Now watch this little play action fake. It works out great. He's in open space, but watch right here. Notice where Burris is holding the ball right in the front of his chest. He's waiting to see which Edmonton defender will collapse towards him. If one collapses from the right, he holds it in the left. If one collapses from the left, he holds it in the right. Ball protection, ball security. Not one turnover for Saskatchewan. Credit Henry Burris for his awareness of that critical part of football, Dave.
And his ability has been pointed out tonight or today to run the football. When he was the starter in Regina a few years back, his rushing numbers are double what they were when he was the starter for that full season before he went down to the NFL. But you leave most of the running to the running backs. And we asked you in the Arona poll question on our website, which West Division running back would you like to have on your team right about now? And, Corey Holmes is not on this list because Ken Keith is the main man in Regina, and he is edged out by Mike Pringle.
Whoa.
Interesting. Both with 1,000 yards.
Respect for the bet.
Yeah, a lot of people in Edmonton logging on.
Brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Wendy's, it's better here.
Game one of our doubleheader, a thriller. The BC Lions fell behind 20-0 and never led until right here. Chris Brazel in the final minute. Dave Dickinson threw that touchdown pass. He came off the bench after Casey Printers rallied the Lions. Then he got knocked out after a hit by Ed Fillion. Dickinson goes 7 of 8 passing, including a huge conversion on second and long there in the dying moments. And the Lions clinch first with a win.
If there was a stat, Dave, I wish they'd keep, it's the stat of how many game-winning drives you can put together in your career. And not every quarterback can do it. Only the special quarterbacks can do it, especially those guys coming off the bench like Dave Dickinson. Making plays like this, I mean, on second and long, to thread the needle like this and go down and lead your team to victory shows a certain greatness, Chris, that not all quarterbacks have. Quite simply, not everybody has it. I think BC's got 2 guys that can do it.
Well, your argument for having Dave Dickinson finish out the rest of the season and go into the playoffs is getting stronger and stronger. I have to admit, For Montreal, there's a repetition of self-destructive activity on the football field here. 20 penalties, 166 yards, second game in the row that they totally beat themselves. Not only the Lions beating them, Anthony Calvillo threw for well over 400 yards in the passing game. You should win. But when you take away those penalty yards, it keeps giving your opponent an opportunity. And this time, the BC Lions capitalized. Credit the Lions. They can have that home field playoff, and they got a month to sell tickets.
They've got it. They will be hosting the West Final for just the second time in the last 16 years. Montreal lost Brian Chu along the offensive line to an ankle injury, and Ben Cahoon left, I think, in the second quarter.
He came back, though.
Yeah, with his shoulder injury. So it's still tender.
Up.
It's still a concern, but if anybody can play through pain, it is Ben Cahoon. Hey, here's the next game we've got for you next week. It is Thursday night, a huge game between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Argos, as these two are now locked in a battle for second in the East.
This day in the CFL, brought to you by Sport Check, proud supporter of the CFL.
October 17th, 1998. Pinball Clemens not dressed for this one. Argos and the Owls. Early action. Kerwin Bell hits Darryl Mitchell in the end zone. Argos led early. But with Montreal trailing by 3, quarterback Tracy Ham hands off to Mike Pringle. 2-yard plunge. Owls now lead 18-14. Fourth quarter. Ham evades the pass rush and throws it downfield to Jock Climby. And Climby breaks 2 tackles and is gone. Climby showing amazing speed. Unbelievable. Montreal wins a big game 38-28.
Amazing speed. I never had amazing speed all 12 years I played.
The halftime numbers brought to you by Molson Canadian. Jock.
I'm waiting.
What do you... No, you gotta go.
No, I'm waiting for Edmonton's numbers to go up so we can get a game here.
Oh, I see.
Complete dominance by Saskatchewan. You don't have to analyze this.
No, you don't. It's pretty simple. It's all Saskatchewan all day and likely all night. Let's see what Danny Barrett had to say to Ray Morrison.
Danny, what's more amazing, the touchdowns through the air with a Travis Moore catch, or Holmes on the ground, or special teams, or what do you pick?
Well, it's a combination of things that I'm really liking right now. One, the intensity of our team, and the crowd is phenomenal. So we're going to ride this wave through the second half and hopefully just keep matching points now and do what we need to do.
What can you tell me about Kenton Keith? He took a shot to the head in the first half here and hasn't been in much.
He took a shot to the head, so we're just being cautious right now. You will probably see him in the second half. I'll talk to the doctors here to make sure, because with a league like this, we don't want to injure him anymore.
All right, thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Guys?
Well, yeah, you don't want to injure him anymore, and when you got this guy doing the job he's doing, you might be able to give Kenton Keith a day off. Corey Holmes, this is punt return for a touchdown. Riders big.
Everything went right for Danny Barrett and the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the first half. Not much for the Eskimos. Here's Ray down at the Eskimo sideline.
Tom, they've dominated you a little bit up front, and as a result, they're scoring through the air and on the ground, and then they got one on special teams as well. What did you tell your team?
No question that it was not a very good half for us. We're going to have to come on out. We've regrouped a little bit. Some people had to say what they needed to say, and so what we got to do, fundamentals. We're going to have the wind in the fourth quarter. We're going to give them the wind in the third, and the third will tell us the tale exactly how this game's going to finish out.
Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you.
John.
Eskimos trailing by 30 points as it stands right now, and there's the man who's done a lot of the damage. It's Corey Holmes with a football on the Eskimo kickoff. Returning for the Riders, and he's dropped at the 35. Corey Holmes with 217 all-purpose yards in the first half at Taylor Field.
Well, when you compare the two quarterbacks, really no comparison to be made. Jason Moss struggled in a big way in the first half. In fact, he struggled gripping the football.
6 of 14 for 44 yards. Those are not typical Jason Moss numbers. Henry Burris passed for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, got a special teams touchdown, and Corey Holmes led the way with Kenton Keith on the sidelines being tended to. And here's Holmes again, spinning and picking up at least 8 yards. Clinton Wayne making the tackle there. Kenton Keith was shaken up. They put Corey Holmes in, and it's worked out very well when you look at what the Roughriders have accomplished so far with 31 points on the board.
Yeah, Corey Holmes has done it in the special teams. He's done it on offense, and he's done it in the receiving corps. You don't really miss a beat when Corey Holmes is in the game.
Second and a couple. This is Zarka first down easily for Chris Sarka. Corey Holmes, a spectacular opening half.
There he is out of the backfield as a receiver.
This for the touchdown. And this for the touchdown. 66 yards on a punt return for Corey Holmes. Henry Burris looking for Jason French.
Shannon Garrett there came over the top and made a nice play on Jason French. He had to come all the way across the field to cover Jason French. Came over the top and got his left hand on that football. You heard Tom Higgins talk about the Edmonton Eskimos. Some guys said what they had to say. Likely Shannon Garrett was one of those guys. The veterans in a game like this at halftime will stand up and say their piece.
A hugely important game for both teams. Again, the winner has a spot in the playoffs. The loser has to wait till next week. Burris just missing there. Travis Moore, who had a touchdown in the first half, covered by Shannon Garrett. So Garrett has made 2 plays to start the second half.
Yeah, Shannon Garrett, he's probably one of those guys. He's one of the veterans back there. So while he doesn't say a lot during a game, very likely he was one of the guys that stood up in the locker room at halftime and said, guys, enough is enough. And he's come out with back-to-back plays there, and Edmonton finally get a stop.
McCallum with the breeze inside the 10. Daryl Mitchell returning that time. Winston October is the #1 guy for the Eskimos on returns, but Mitchell steps in to take one back.
This quarter is brought to you by Esquire. This is your time.
Taylor Field Regina sold out for a critical game between the Eskimos and the Roughriders. A playoff spot is on the line. In this one this afternoon, the winner grabs a playoff spot. The loser will have to wait till next week and play out the final games of the season. Again, Jason Moss has trouble handling the football. He has bobbled a couple of snaps and had one slip out of his fingers as he was looking to throw.
Well, Kevin Roughriders has had some problems with the shotgun snap since taking over for Tim Princeton. But I don't think that's the problem here this afternoon. Jason Moss has just had some difficulties gripping the football. It's colder, it has a little bit of slime on it, he can't get his hands around it.
Eskimos did manage to get 5 yards on the fumble ahead, so 2nd and 5 for Moss. And he stopped short on a first down on this reception to Ed Hervey, who actually couldn't hang on to the football. Well, he was alone out there and is upset that he let that one hit the turf.
Well, again, Johnny, he tried to throw that out to the outside, and it really was a wobble ball that he never got any grip on and didn't put any zip on the football. Jason Moss just couldn't get it to Ed Hervey in time.
And Hervey, after that, kicked the ball right through the end zone in frustration. So Sean Fleming is in. Corey Holmes awaits. Delay of game there. A procedure call.
Procedure. Edmonton 55.
Yeah, that 5 yards can turn into 15, 20 yards at the other end when you're kicking into the wind, and Corey Holmes is your returner for Saskatchewan.
And look where Holmes has moved up to another 10 yards as a result. He's standing near the Eskimo 50-yard line, so he's on the Edmonton side of the field.
And you look at this, and Tom Higgins probably will give up with safety and 2 points here.
The breeze is substantial, and that's what Fleming is looking at, kicking into it now.
They're deliberately taking penalties. They're going to back them up again until they can get Fleming into the end zone.
Time count violation.
They're trying to act like
number 11.
These are mistakes, but these are planned penalties. They're into the wind. That gets Fleming now after back-to-back penalties into the end zone. He gives up the 2 points, and they get some of this field position back. You might as well. Corey Holmes is in field goal range when he catches the football.
Holmes has moved up to the 45 of the Eskimos as Fleming drops 5 yards deep in the end zone. Sean Fleming was injured last week in the game against the Alouettes. And this was what Glenn was talking about. Give up the safety here and grab some field position back early in the third quarter. John Fleming went to make a tackle on Ezra Landry last week. And the kicker got the worst of it. Fleming needed attention on the sidelines. He is not 100% in this game. So the Eskimos have backup plans for the kicking chores this afternoon if Fleming can't fulfill all his responsibilities. Terry Vaughn will be the place kicker. Mike Bradley, one of the designated punters if it comes down to that.
Well, what Tom Higgins accomplished with that decision to go with back-to-back penalties, deliberate penalties, and then give up a safety. He gives up the 2 points, but he takes some time off the clock with Saskatchewan with the wind at their back, and he gets that field position back. So by design, Tom Higgins gave up 2 penalties and 2 points.
He really had no other way to look at it because it was instant field position for the Roughriders.
Go get it, Corey. Go get it, Corey. Go get it. Here we go. Here we go.
Corey Holmes looks for a block here. Took one 66 yards back in the first half, and Bertrand making the tackle there. Matthew Bertrand.
Pretty successful first half for Marcel Belfay and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, especially in the third quarter. They had 3 touchdowns in that quarter. Holmes with a 66-yard punt return thrown in there, and that's why the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 33-1 lead.
The Eskimos actually had a 1-point lead with the wind in the opening quarter. And the fact that they were unable to get into the end zone is a big reason the Roughriders have this substantial lead right now, picking up the touchdowns with the win second quarter. And Keith is back in the ballgame. More bad news for the Eskimos.
Good news for Saskatchewan Roughriders and their fans, though, that Kenton Keith was okay. He was dinged early in the first half, hit to the head, and they wanted to make sure that he was thinking clearly. And look at the last 4 games, all wins for Saskatchewan, 500 yards for Kenton Keith.
And a 7.2-yard rushing average for Keith. On the season, his average is 6.1. Second and short, Saskatchewan, and Zarka across the 50.
Now, Matthew Barrett said yesterday that, you know, when he was playing the Ottawa Renegades in the last game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, their winning drive was a 12-play drive. Of the 12 plays, 10 of them were running plays, most to Kenton Keith. That is some kind of luxury with the game on the line in CFL football. You can run a 12-play drive, and 10 of them are running plays.
Zarka had the first down easily. Saskatchewan from the 50. Kenton Keith and Albert Reese making the stop there.
Yeah, and you see the Saskatchewan offensive line and just open up all kinds of holes for Kenton Keith. Right now, the advantage for Saskatchewan in the rushing yards is substantial. 150 for the Riders, 19 for the Edmonton Eskimos.
The Roughriders lead the CFL in average rushing yards per game with 138. The Eskimos are well down the list, averaging well under 100. Second and 7, Saskatchewan here. Morris has the target and a reception. Travis Moore. Touchdown earlier. Stephen Marsh was covering.
Timing pattern from Travis Moore. He goes down the field, and will just break out to the sideline. But watch how Henry Burris has no one molesting him in the back in the pocket. He just stands in there, blitz coming from Edmonton. He has lots of time to get that ball out of there to Travis Moore on the sideline. Fumbled it out of bounds, but he already had made the catch.
Rough Riders with a no-huddle offense going here now. Saskatchewan set up at the 42. Fake to Kenton Keith, and he looked to Corey Holmes. Holmes had one hand on it, that was all. But there was open territory here on the wide side. 8:30 to go. In the third quarter, Rough Riders have the wind, and they have the lead at 33-1 as it stands right now.
Well, you could tell Danny Barry wanted some more points in this third quarter while he has the wind at his back.
What's on the line for the Rough Riders? If they can win by 25, they will take the season series with the Eskimos. After Edmonton won convincingly in the only other meeting at Commonwealth Stadium earlier in the year. On second down, and Burris misses again, looking for Kenton Keith that time.
Well, the only way that they had problems in that drive is when they start to throw the ball sideline to sideline. Saskatchewan Roughriders with the running game have been successful, especially in the third quarter. And then Marcel Belfay there decided to go to two throws laterally, and both were a little bit difficult to catch, so Saskatchewan has to punt the football.
And the wind might have been a little bit of a factor there too. It is a crosswind as it stands right now, favoring the Rough Riders, yes, but going slightly across the field. McCallum's kick down to the 12-yard line. It's Winston October. Got one block, and he's out near the 25. So the Eskimos into the wind with 7:49 to go, third quarter, 1st and 10 when we get back. Nate Davis leading the Saskatchewan Roughriders in sacks. For every sack in the game, Perlator contributes the quarterback's weight to the local food bank. Perlator, Canada's biggest courier company, and Saskatchewan atop the leaderboard, tied with Montreal, 43 sacks there. Saskatchewan with 3 sacks against the Eskimos so far this afternoon. Completion, short of the first down. Pringle makes the catch, and he has been the favorite intended target of Jason Moss so far this afternoon. So the Riders are doing a pretty good job of covering the outside receivers.
The good news for Jason Moss there is that he gripped the football and put a little zip on it.
5-yard gain. Making a 6-yard gain, 2nd and 4 here. And that'll be a first down. The catch made by Ed Hervey, far side. So back-to-back completions for Jason Moss, and that hasn't happened a great deal this afternoon.
Saskatchewan drops back into his own defense, and Ed Hervey is just going to be the outlet man on the sideline. Couple steps up, he recognizes the zone, and he just slides to the sideline. Creates a target for Jason Moss.
13-yard gain. Here are the Eskimos out across the 40 at the 41. 3 receivers near side. Low snap, Moss has it up, and he's on the money again. Hervey again. And Hervey gets yards after the catch as well. Wrestled down finally by Reggie Hunt.
Well, this time it's Ed Hervey again, but it's a different defense. Saskatchewan this time go with man-to-man, so Ed Hervey can go a little bit deeper before he makes his break.
Hervey missed 4 games for the Eskimos. He got back last week to play against the Alouettes. Getting noisy in here. Moss lost it, and he's decked. Jason Moss had trouble gripping the football. Travis Smith was one of the Rough Riders on top of him in a hurry.
Yeah, and this time it may have gone off the shoulder of Mike Pringle. Jason Moss tried to do a little play action there in the shotgun formation to Pringle. And he has had his problems gripping that football.
In passing situations like there, and there, and then right there. Play whistle dead, but Moss had a difficult time again as the Rough Riders were all around. David Benefield ended up with the ball.
Well, that was David Benefield was the reason that Jason Moss couldn't grip the football that time. He came off the edge, one-on-one out there on Chris Morris. And David Benefield wins this battle.
Pressure from Benefield. And he almost recorded the sack. Third down. Fleming is in. Holmes is deep. Corey Holmes back near his 24-yard line. High kick. Coming down. Flags will fly. Or will they? Now the flag comes in. No yards, and the penalty marched off against the Eskimos, so Henry Burris has a first down. Close to the Saskatchewan 50-yard line at the 48. Karsten Bailey makes the catch, short of the first down. Crutchfield moved up to make the tackle. Well, the Ticats with a huge win. The Argonauts with a tough loss. Stampeders were great yesterday at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. As a result, there's a lot more importance on this game Thursday from Skydome in Toronto. The Ticats still have a chance to host a home playoff game this year as a result of their win and the Argonauts' loss. So we'll be there for that. And a lot to be decided in the final couple of weeks of the 2004 CFL season.
And just a reminder, the Saskatchewan Roughriders with a 25-point or more win today win the season series versus the Edmonton Eskimos as they fight for a home field playoff game in the playoffs.
And for Saskatchewan, it would be the first time that occurred since 1988. The Roughriders with one game to go after this on the final week of the season against BC. Paul McCallum with the win, and there'll be no return on an almost perfect kick by McCallum. First and 10 Edmonton when we return. 4:18 to go, third quarter. Player of the game. Rogers, your world right now. You can use text messaging, type in GO CFL, and vote for your choice for player of the game. This guy will get a lot of votes without question. 217 yards in the first half alone for Corey Holmes. And part of the reason things are going well is the big chill, Fred Childress, over from the Calgary Stampeders. And since he joined the Roughriders and started 4 weeks ago, Saskatchewan has not lost a game. The Roughriders are on a 4-game win streak and very convincing in their lead over the Eskimos here and now. And Herbie the catch, it'll be for a first down. And Herbie gets out across the 30. Omar Morgan got over to make the tackle.
Well, the good news for the Edmonton Eskimos in this third quarter is that they may not have been moving the ball real successfully. They've had a couple of first downs, but they have kept Saskatchewan out of the end zone with the wind at Saskatchewan's back.
Roughriders have only 2 points to show for the wind at their backs in the third quarter. In the second quarter, Saskatchewan put up 31. Crowd gets into it now. Moss missing on the intended toss for Mike Pringle, and that was low and outside.
And he missed because David Benefield got his hand on it. Came off the edge again on the outside. He's been working one-on-one on those tackles. Chris Morris, Carson out there, and in that time he just batted that one out of the ground, out of the air.
Ed Herbie to the near side. It's 2nd and 10 Eskimos. All kinds of time for Moss. Looking for Herbie. Brock Ralph coming up with the catch on the far side, and that's a huge play.
He's got time, John, because Mike Pringle picks up the blitz from Reggie Hunt. Reggie Hunt's right here. He's going to come around here and watch Mike Pringle pick up the blitz and allow Jason Moss the time to throw the football. Here comes Reggie Hunt. There's a nice block by Pringle. Moss has time to throw.
20-yard game. Here are the Eskimos at midfield. 2:44 to go. Third quarter. Moss feeling a little more confident now. Strike there to Pringle. He breaks the tackle and is down to the 40. Travis Smith made the stop. It's a 15-yard gain, so the Eskimos have suddenly found life in this offense.
So Mike Pringle gets rewarded for his big block, and he gets the football in his hands, breaks a tackle, and all of a sudden Edmonton, with the wind in their face, a little momentum back.
Eskimos will have the wind at their backs for the fourth quarter, 2 minutes and 10 seconds from now. Haas looking down the far side, and he's well over the head of Ed Hervey, who's looking for a call. Coverage by Omar Morgan.
Yeah, and I think this is a good no call by the officials. You're going to have a good look at it, one-on-one, Omar Morgan and Ed Hervey. Now, this is what you call hand fighting. Morgan with the little push there, Hervey with the little grab. Let him play. The ball probably not catchable anyway.
2:02 remaining in the third quarter. With the Roughriders holding on to a commanding 33-1 lead. Second down for Jason Moss under the coverage this time. And the first down will not happen. Darryl Mitchell was wrapped up in a hurry by Davin Bush.
Yeah, and Santino Hall broke downhill, and he knew he could come out of his break in a hurry because the Saskatchewan Roughriders were going with a blitz from the opposite side. They sent Eddie Davis, the halfback, so Santino Hall was able to come downhill in a hurry on Darryl Mitchell and holds him well short of the first down.
So the drive ends right here for the Eskimos. Ball just inside the Saskatchewan 40. And out of field goal range into a stiff breeze here at Taylor Field. Sean Clemens. Corey Holmes lets it trickle into the end zone. And so the Eskimos have 2 on the board. 33-2. Hard to figure out what's gone wrong in this Eskimo season after winning the Grey Cup championship. Only one way to describe it. It's been a roller coaster ride since the Eskimos won the Grey Cup here last November.
I'm surprised at our record. I'm surprised at our play at some times throughout the season. But again, sometimes teams have Grey Cup hangovers.
Sometimes lots of people have Grey Cup hangovers. But when you look at it from the Eskimo standpoint, that explains it just about as well as anything. The pitch back to Burris. Travis Moore. And they say it bounced one time before Moore got his fingers underneath it. Actually, it's Jason French sliding to the turf here.
You see Kenton Keith pitches it back to Henry Burris. He goes down the seam and just can't get enough on it to get it to Jason French. That's a one-hop. Good call by the official.
It'll be 2nd and 10 Saskatchewan with time ticking down in the third quarter. Some early movement, and this is wide open for Henry Burris. Slowed down at the 45. A great run by Burris. We'll check out the infraction. It's 31 yards for Burris. If it stands, he has a touchdown run already. A 34-yard run for a touchdown to get the Riders on the scoreboard.
Offside. Edmonton number 90.
Good recognition from Henry Burris to take off to the left side of the formation. The only thing you probably would say to him is, when you get down there, run out of bounds. Good yardage. Danny Barrett walked right over to him and said, nice run, Hank, but
maybe slide next time or get out, yes. Should be the final play, third quarter. Roughriders set up at the Eskimo 45. Burris with the wind at his back, open target, touchdown! Jason French. And that is dramatic. The final chance the Riders had with the win. Burris has the perfect play. And he has another touchdown. Jason French got in behind the Eskimo coverage, and the Roughriders have a 39-2 lead.
John Quincy Coleman thought that he had safety help as Jason French goes right down the seam. You see Coleman, he's going to be in a trail position. The safety is over here. Robert Grant had gone to the right side of the formation, leaving Coleman in a one-on-one, and French won the battle.
A 44-yard strike for the touchdown. And that is the final play of the third quarter. Roughriders with a 38-point lead, and there's lots to cheer about at Taylor Field in Saskatchewan on a chilly Sunday afternoon.
At the quarter, brought to you by Reebok, the only brand that hangs in every CFL locker.
You know who's loving this result, other than people in Regina, obviously? The Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They play Edmonton. Edmonton's last game of the season is next Sunday against the Bombers, and the Bombers can control their playoff fate and knock Edmonton right out of the playoffs, because it looks as though second place could go to Saskatchewan today.
Yeah, with that last touchdown for sure. And folks at home are trying to figure out, well, what's going to keep me here watching this football game? But despite the fact that it's 40-2, there is still something very interesting to watch, and that is the fact that right now Saskatchewan needs to beat Edmonton by more than 25 points in order to secure themselves second point, 24 points. And so that's because of a game back on August 20th when Edmonton beat Saskatchewan 31-7. So still very interesting to see how this game plays out, whether Saskatchewan's going to keep bombing Edmonton because they want to get that point differential spread.
That's a good point about the points, because what it means, if you see the Roughriders kind of extend this lead, they're not trying to run up the score, they're trying to make a playoff position. And one new Roughrider, Freddie Childers, offensive left guard, he is having an impact on the offensive line. The bottom line in this game is that offensive line for Saskatchewan is winning the one-on-one battles. Nice chip block taking Mobley out of the play helps enhance that run by Kenton Keith, and I think the addition of Freddie Childers has helped this football team start playing football in 1994, 11-year vet.
And then there's the 39-year-old linebacker, Alondra Johnson, who was in the game. The last time Edmonton missed the playoffs, 1971. And that road could get a little tougher as a result of the results today.
The scoreboard is not. The Roughriders have won in all phases of the game, on special teams, on defense, and on offense. And the Eskimos are a quarter away with the wind at their backs, trailing by 38 points. Paul McCallum into the breeze after Saskatchewan added one more touchdown. On the return, Mike Bradley crosses the 40-yard line to about the 43, and that's where the Eskimos will be first and 10.
The fourth quarter is brought to you by Kellogg's Vector. Vector, official food energy of the CFL. Fuel up.
This is not over as far as the Saskatchewan Roughriders are
Unnecessary
concerned.
roughness. Edmonton 44. After the play, first down.
It'll be a huge penalty against Sean Spender as they march the Eskimos back inside the 30-yard line now. Roughriders have 40 points on the board to finish ahead of the Eskimos in the standings. If in fact it is a tie with games won and lost, the Riders have to win by 25 today. No catch on first down. Ed Hervey laid out and couldn't bring it in.
So basically right now, the Edmonton Eskimos have a 13-point advantage when you add the 25 to the 2 they have.
Absolutely, that's the total. And I hope Jared is listening this afternoon, because he can call you Kermit as well as giving me the shots when I lost my voice a few weeks ago. Talking about Jared Suter, who was giving me the gears when I sounded a little like the frog.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm not used to this Regina cold.
No, you shouldn't be. You only spent 11 years about 4 blocks from here.
It was a while ago, though. And it snuck up on me.
Wind chill -8 at kickoff. and snow in the forecast. Fortunately, the blackout is lifted, and all of Saskatchewan is looking in on a very historic game potentially for these Roughriders. It'll be a first down for the Eskimos. Saskatchewan trying to lock up a playoff game at Taylor Field for the first time in 16 years. The last time the Riders hosted a playoff that year, but in 1989 it worked out quite well with the Riders winning on the road all the way through the Western playoffs, and then that huge Grey Cup victory at Skydome. Jason Moss a little high and outside. Jason Tucker was his target there.
One guy that we haven't heard a lot of that's Jason Tucker, who has been the deep threat for the Edmonton Eskimos. And remember last time that Jason Tucker played here in Regina, played in the Grey Cup game.
And he was the most valuable player in the Grey Cup victory over the Montreal Alouettes. Last week against the Alouettes, 6 catches for 188 yards for Jason Tucker. He had struggled in a couple of games prior to that, got back on track last week. 2nd and 10, Moss sacked 4 times and he's down again. Taro Jereniak with his 2nd sack and another flag down. This after the play.
Benefield was in the middle of that, and he was working against Carson. And he's either been on Glenn Carson or Chris Morris.
Unnecessary roughness. Edmonton 61. They're down for the play. Third down.
Glenn Carson with the penalty, and it was on David Benefield.
Here's a closer look at what transpired after the play.
He got his right arm up underneath the chin of David Benefield.
Frustrating for the Eskimos along that offensive line with so many changes up there over the last couple of weeks because of injury. With the wind, Fleming doesn't get it all that deep, but there will be no return for Corey Holmes. The Eskimos in a real battle for 2nd place in the West.
Small can, strong beer. New Molson Canadian 6.0 cold shots.
Not a seat available for this one. Since the middle of the week, a sellout at Taylor Field, Regina for a huge game for both teams, but particularly for these Rough Rider fans. Reminder, CSI Miami comes your way tomorrow on CTV, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central Time, CSI Miami. The Rough Riders have the ball again, and the Rough Riders have a 38-point lead on the Eskimos. It's been all Saskatchewan so far. Zarka for a couple of yards. And the Rough Riders have made the big plays in the last 5 games. 64-yard catch by Keith French with a 70-yard catch against Montreal. Keith again against Ottawa. A 71-yard run by Keith. Bailey a 70-yard catch. And today it's Holmes with a 66-yard punt return. And French has a touchdown as well. So does Travis Moore. So does Henry Burris. The Riders have run roughshod over the Eskimos. Little shovel pass here. This will work well. Out across midfield is Corey Holmes again. Definitely the star of this game for Saskatchewan so far. He has done it all.
Real nice cut by Corey Holmes as he got past the line of scrimmage.
Burris feathers it nicely for Corey Holmes. And there's the cut. So the Riders continue to move the football on the line today. 2nd spot in the CFL West. The winner will be in 2nd place temporarily. Both Edmonton and Saskatchewan with 1 game to go after this. But the Rough Riders are looking to finish ahead of the Eskimos in the standings. And they need to win this game by 25 points in case there is a tie when the season is over. The Eskimos have injury problems along the offensive line. No question that that has been part of the problem for this Eskimo team so far this afternoon. Tom Higgins knows exactly what's on the line. Riders head coach Danny Barrett knows it only too well after coaching here as long as he has. Torrey Holmes. And he's stopped just across midfield by Randy Spencer. All the highlights coming your way on SportsCenter when we're finished here. A sellout at Taylor Field in Regina. And so far, so good for Rough Rider fans, hoping there will be one more home game in Regina before this season is over. Lots of time remaining for the Eskimos to close this gap, however. Second down, Saskatchewan. Burris unloads in a hurry. Travis Moore the catch. Dives close to a first down. Excellent extra effort by Travis Moore.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos have played better on the defensive and offensive lines, but this game basically out of reach for them, except for the point differential. They need a couple of touchdowns, and second efforts like that from Travis Moore is going to limit the Edmonton Eskimos' opportunities for that.
After 4 wins in a row, Saskatchewan fans daring to hope they might witness a postseason game on home turf for the first time in 16 years. Danny Barrett needs 2 more wins to have any chance of playing a home game here in November. Third down, a half a yard to go as they reposition the ball on the hash marks near side. And when the offensive line is as solid as this group, led by Jeremy O'Day at center, this isn't a huge gamble at this stage of the game. Going into the win, though, the Rough Riders trying to maintain possession of the football. Some movement from the Eskimo side. Burris has the first down. No penalty markers anywhere.
Ball came out there late, but they had blown the whistle. They're going to say it's first down for Saskatchewan.
Well, the whistle had definitely sounded, and Burris had been stopped. 10 minutes and 29 seconds to go. Again, the Rough Riders will guarantee a spot in the playoffs if they hang on and win. The Eskimos, if the score remains close to what it is, we'll have to wait till the final week of the season to find out. Torrey Holmes lost the ball, and the Eskimos say they have recovered.
Sure, I thought it was Singor Mobley. He might have got his hand on that ball. A.J. Gass was in there.
The official has said no fumble at this point, or at least the Riders did get it back.
No, the Riders got it back.
As Holmes did drop the ball. Five-yard gain, 2nd and 5, Saskatchewan. The charge was on, blitzing through A.J. Gass.
One of the few mistakes by the Saskatchewan offensive line up front. A.J. Gass timed it perfectly right in the middle of your screen, and there's no one left in the backfield to pick him up.
First sack of the afternoon for the Eskimos. The Rough Riders have celebrated 4 times already, 5 times, I should say. McCallum standing at midfield. Winston October back at the Eskimo 5. Eskimos with an extra returner back there as well. Daryl Mitchell. October bobbled it, and He was nailed immediately, driven back to about the 16-yard line by special team specialist Scott Gordon. The bobble, the hit, 1st and 10 Edmonton. Story brought to you by Sport Check, proud supporter of the CFL, and it's been all Saskatchewan so far. Corey Holmes with 264 total yards. The Roughriders defense allowing only 25 rushing yards. Henry Burris has been hot, passed for touchdowns, and run for one himself, and Jason Moss has had a tough afternoon against this relentless defense of the Eskimos. He's been sacked 5 times. Almost a brilliant catch by Daryl Mitchell.
Except for that, Santino Hall got there in a hurry. He dropped back into the middle of that zone defense.
Just draw the pictures and I'll keep chatting here.
You see Mitchell,
a heck of a play.
Yeah, and he was in the deep third, came all the way across.
He's had a good afternoon. Santino Hall. This is 2nd and 10. Crucial situation for the Eskimos here. Moss under pressure again, got it away and got a strike. It's Mitchell making the catch, and that'll be enough for a 1st down out across the 30. Daryl Mitchell with 10 touchdowns on the season, closing in on his 1,000-yard barrier. But he was the guy for the Eskimos when they went on that nice little win streak in the middle, who caught a touchdown every game and usually only one pass. This will work, and Herbie makes the catch at the 35. Davin Bush wrapped him up in a hurry. 7:40 to go.
Even though Edmonton is completing the odd pass, the Saskatchewan Roughriders making it very tough on him. You can see they break on the ball in a hurry. Ed Herbie made the catch, but was hit immediately.
Rider defense will allow a little bit in that area. Only a 3-yard gain there. 2nd and 7. Flags are down. Herbie makes the catch, breaks the tackle, and sprints down the far side. But the flag is back at the line, and the early indication would be holding against the Eskimos, so they'll bring this back.
Yeah, they will. Umpire makes that call. He's always
Holding, Edmonton 65. 2nd down repeated.
Again, the Eskimos with Kevin Lesrud playing center for Tim Princeton, out for the last couple of games, and the left arm drags down Alondra Johnson. And with that injury to Princeton, the Eskimos have had to make several adjustments along the offensive line. However, Edmonton did come out with that huge victory over the Alouettes last week. The Roughriders have been too much to handle here this afternoon so far. Terry Vaughn, the intended receiver there, with 6:44 to go. Roughriders with a 38-point lead.
When Edmonton's trying to go after Santino Hall, he's risen to the challenge every single time. I don't think they've got one catch on Santino Hall tonight or today.
A great crowd at Taylor Field, something to cheer about at last. Hanging on to the hope of a playoff game coming their way for the first time in 16 years. This was an early sellout, this game, and it's standing room only on a chilly afternoon. Corey Holmes, an over-the-shoulder catch. Robert Grant got to make the tackle there. Roughriders have the ball back, 6:22 to go, and Saskatchewan leads by a bunch. We found a couple of Eskimo fans in the stands here at Taylor Field, under the brown bags, obviously, with Saskatchewan on top. NHL on TSN, Canada Cup Classic, Canada versus Sweden. in the 76 round robin. That'll come your way 7:30 on Tuesday, so still a little hockey around in spite of what's going on.
Well, if Danny Barrett has his way right now, he'd like a 6-minute and 15-second drive.
That would be just about perfect to salt this away for the Roughriders. Not only the victory, which seems almost guaranteed, but also the opportunity to finish ahead of the Eskimos in the season standings by winning the point differential. Again, Saskatchewan has to win by 25 to win the season series over the Eskimos. Second and long for Henry Burris and the Roughriders at the 40. After a gain of 2, this is 2nd and 8. Burris looks long, and not quite. Dominguez turned around and couldn't squeeze it. Malcolm Frank was covering. Obviously, Henry Burris loves what his offensive line has done in the last 5 games in particular. It's in evidence again here this afternoon.
To me, I compare this offensive line to like a old Tommy Frazier, Nebraska Cornhusker offensive line where you would just pound teams for 3 quarters, and in the 4th quarter you pretty much just put them to sleep.
Well, I'm not sure if the Eskimos are asleep down there. This is a solid Eskimo front on defense, but